Welcome back, Millionaire University. If you're just joining us, we're in episode 2, sharing a whole module from our Build My Money Machine program across 5 value-packed episodes. If you haven't heard part 1, where we broke down why most business advice overcomplicates success, make sure to go back and listen to that first. In part 2 of 5 today, we're diving into one of the most critical elements of business success: how to effectively sell and promote your product or service. You'll learn practical strategies that have worked across multiple industries and why taking quick action beats waiting for perfection. We'll explore real examples of what works, what doesn't, and how to fail forward into success. Let's get into it, Millionaire University. Class is in session.
Step number 2 is sell or promote your product or service. At first, step number 2 is going to be come up with the way to sell or promote your product or service. But to me, that felt like a lack of action. Not to mention, you may need to try several different ways before you find the way that works for you. Now, we covered this in great detail in module 5, so I'm not going to go over it too much again. But once again, do not overthink this. The first steps you take to sell and promote your product or service are probably not going to be the exact way that you're going to end up selling it, or the way that you're going to have the most success selling or promoting your product or service. So the faster you can take action on these things, the faster you can fail forward, the better off you're going to be. Remember, success leaves clues. We live in the information age. You can look and see what other people are doing. They may not tell you 100% of exactly what's working for them in the exact way, but you'll be able to pick up bits and pieces. Be a detective. You'll be able to see what they're doing. It's amazing, really. In fact, it's even more amazing that more people do not take advantage of this. So at first, essentially see what they're doing, what resonates with you of all the different things you're seeing different people doing in either your industry or other industries, and try those things. Try them quickly. MVP, minimum viable product. What is the most basic either product or service and or way of selling that product or service that you can come up with? Put it out there, test it out, try it out, improve it, adapt it, see what works, do more of that, do less of what's not working, or improve what's not working if you think that there's a way to get it to work. But action, then keep learning, take action, fail forward, embrace failure. Know that you are creating something. Anytime we're building something, we don't get the benefits or the results of it right away. It takes time. I was going to say after we finish building it, but we can start to get the benefits of it after we've built at least part of it, right? So that's the goal. Your goal is to get traction with your money machine as soon as possible, and then you can continue to grow and build upon that. Step number 3, after you have come up with your business idea and you start to get traction, you start to sell your product or service, you want to make sure that you insert some form of leverage. Now, at the beginning, I gave the disclaimer of it's not all step by step. Some of it bleeds together, and this may be the case. Maybe you already have inserted a form of leverage. But if you haven't, the only way that you will ever create a real, true money-making machine, a machine that gives you more of what you want with less of your time, less of your involvement, is by inserting one of the 5 or another form of leverage. We discussed these 5 points of leverage in our last module, module 7, but doing this is a key that many small business owners never do, and that eventually often leads to burnout and not being able to really focus on what their business needs. It's hard to have a 30,000 foot or a bird's eye view perspective and see what's happening in your business or in your industry when you're digging and standing in a ditch. Not to mention, it's a lot of hard work and doesn't pay well. The 4th and final step of the Build My Money Machine blueprint. And once again, these aren't necessarily in an exact order. They bleed together. And this is something that you may be doing all along the way in your business, and something that you certainly want to keep in mind if you're just starting out or wherever you currently are in your business. But the 4th step is to take steps 1 through 3, aka your business idea, your sales and or marketing strategy, your point or points of leverage, and put them together in a way to create your self-liquidation offer or your break-even funnel, as we sometimes refer to it. Literally, what are the systems, processes, and steps that you need to put together to create your money making machine? That machine that for every $1 you put in, you get more than $1 back, whether it be $1.50 or $2. Even if you're putting in $1 and getting $1 back, but then growing your audience, growing your platform, growing your influence, growing your customer base with the plan of creating future products or services, or an opportunity for your customers to perhaps pay you on an ongoing basis with some kind of subscription or membership type of model. Now, laying out these steps for you is one thing, but I want to make sure that you really grasp what I'm trying to teach you here, not just in theory, but in actual practice, in a way that you can apply it to your personal situation and current or future business. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this module is share personal experiences from our businesses, from the money machines that we've created and other examples that I've seen. Remember, don't be a yabbeter. Don't think of the things that don't work for you or why they might not work for you, but how can they apply to you, or what does apply to you in your personal life, in your personal situation. I'll also give some examples of things that didn't go quite so well. Sometimes you learn the most from your mistakes. And I'll talk about how we could have done that differently in hindsight and how you can perhaps apply those lessons and maybe try some of those things in a different way in your business. So to start off, let's turn back the clock 20 years to the year 2004. Tara and I had just got married and we were starting our very first business, our very first money-making machine. So first off, step one, our business idea. We came up with all kinds of ideas, but we eventually settled on starting a satellite dish business. Why? Because I had already sold satellite for another company, and it seemed like it would be an easy business to transition into based on my experience. Also, our number one goal was not necessarily to change the world and come up with this big new crazy idea, but rather we wanted to make money. That was our top priority. We were going to have a family and we needed to be able to take care of our family, let alone ourselves, eat, pay the bills. So we chose a business that we already had some experience with, and we were confident that we could do quickly. And then we also knew it wouldn't take a whole lot of upfront capital to get started. I mean, it was a couple $1,000s to get some of the initial equipment, but that was about it. So for step number two, our sales model, same idea. I already had experience selling satellite dish door to door, so I would start out by doing the exact same thing. Easy peasy, we were off to the races. Now, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of hurdles that we had to jump through that we didn't expect. That's going to happen in any business. So I'm not trying to make it sound like this was super simple. I mean, there was another business model that we considered, and I'll spare you the details on that. But then yes, it did take us some time. We had to get some registration things. We had to figure out how to get the equipment. We had to learn a little bit about that process. We had to do some research. But overall, due to my background and my experience in selling satellite dish and already understanding the product, it was a relatively easy lift to get our first business off the ground. So we were off to the races. I was making more money by doing it on my own, about 3 times as much, and had much more flexibility. So while I had figured out how to make about $200 per hour, which was about 20 times the average person my age that time in Utah, I still wasn't satisfied. It was time to apply step number 3. Leverage. And just like steps 1 and 2, I did what I was familiar with, what I had seen. And the first point of leverage that I inserted was people. Now, we already used people to install the satellite dishes for us. There was no way I was going to be getting into that. But now it was time to hire some salespeople. And so we did. And once again, just like anything else, it wasn't super easy. But eventually we had 1 person, then we had 2 people, and then we had 3 people that were out selling satellite dish for us. And things really started to get exciting. I had never experienced anything like this before. Getting paid $100 to $200 for somebody else's hour, this was something else. Now, you think I would have been happy making several hundred to $1,000 plus per day, having other people sell satellite dish for us. I mean, 300,000 plus net income in my first year as a young 20-something-year-old college dropout wouldn't have been too shabby. but I wanted more. And the truth is, there wasn't anything wrong with the wanting more, the trying to achieve more. It was just the mistakes I made along the way when I went about it. And once again, I don't regret any of these mistakes. I have learned so much from them, but I want to talk about them with you so hopefully you can learn from our mistakes so you can avoid some of those pitfalls on your own.
That wraps up part 2 of our Build My Money Machine series. In part 3, we'll explore the game-changing concept of leverage and how it can transform your business from a job into a true money machine. We'll share real stories of both success and failure to help you avoid common pitfalls. Stay tuned for parts 3, 4, and 5 as we continue building this complete blueprint for entrepreneurial success in 2025. If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And until next time, keep building your future. Class is dismissed.